Hey guys, welcome back to Toasty TCG. So last night I topped Philadelphia Regionals, got 40th place, playing pure Kashtira going first. Deck worked really well. I went to this event super confident and I pretty much expected to top because I just feeling so good with this deck. I've been playing it again for the past couple weeks and it's been working out really well for me. The main focus of my build is to play around like the major hand traps that the deck loses to, Nib, Drool, playing like play lines that can help of like mitigate the damage of like an Imperm or an Ash Blossom, and then just like keeping your board like as tight as possible so you don't lose to board breakers too. Playing under like the two extra deck summons to avoid Typhon. So pretty much like invalidate as much of your opponent's board breaking potential as possible. And then like if they can't remove all the pieces off your board, and there's also going to be like follow up in your hand usually, you're usually just going to kill them next turn. So to get right into the list, we'll talk about some matchups later. Of course, 3 Fenrirs. Notable difference from my last list is we finally got those ultis, boy. It's crisp. I don't really need to explain Fenrir. 3 unicorns. It's a unicorn. What else can I say? I'm playing 2 Rise Heart. I know some people like to play 3. Personally, I think it's really just up to player preference at this point. Like, you have to consider it. Like, if you play 3 of it, you risk like opening 2 of it a little more often, and it's kind of like a brick at that point if you see it by itself. It's one of the only names that like by itself is just not really doing a whole lot. You could go like normal summon, banish like say like Fenrir Unicorn, then activate Birth and go from there. But you have to like open the Birth too. But if you just see Rise Heart by itself, it's not great. But I also understand like if you play 3, the like benefit is like this is like your best extender. I love this card. If they hand trap you on anything, you can just go, okay, summon Rise Heart, continue playing from there. So there's like benefits and there's negatives of playing 3 or 2. So I think each player should just like test at their own preference. If they want to play try 3, try 2, and just go from there. For the other archetype guys, we got 1 Tear Element, 1 Scareclaw. I know a lot of people play the 1 Scareclaw these days. I still want to play the 1 Tear Element, honestly. I just like the added bonus of like banishing something out of your grave, because you're usually banishing a Theosis out of your grave to get something else out of your banished. So I just like having this setup here, because typically what happens is you set up like Shangira. Shangira's can get you like a Fenrir typically, and during your turn 1 play, you're gonna set up a Big Bang to like board wipe. So say it's like you resolve Big Bang, you keep your Shangira, they keep whatever, and then you go Resolution, summon one of these, banishing Big Bang out of your yard, and then Big Bang can summon one of the attached material. So it's like it just adds another little guy to your board. It's cool because like back in the day you would just go like Rise Heart, banish Big Bang, and you don't typically only go for the 1 effect. But this build lets you get both effects of Big Bang in a single turn, which I think is it's pretty cool. Speaking of Ogre, 1 Ogre, this is like the best Kashtira. He searches your win con, love him. Speaking of win con, Big Bang, Preparation. Preparation's probably like the worst Kashtira card in the whole deck. I only played it because Lab's in the format, and I just wanted to have that ability, the hand rip ability. So I play against 2 Lab players, and it's just like makes them have to play a little awkwardly. Then of course Big Bang is just like, this card's amazing. It's Like, the idea of the deck is once you, like, establish your board, your opponent's gonna have to play through, like, the Fenrir, if you have Planet to pop, if you have hand traps, they play through all of that, and then you just go, okay, Big Bang, and it's just, like, there's not really a good chance that they recover, because at that point, it's like, you've locked them zones out from Big Bang, you've locked zones out from Fenrir, if you had Birth, you've locked out zones, if you had Unicorn, you've locked out zones, and it's like, it's so hard to recover through that, and then just next turn, like, you just kill them. This is, like, a phenomenal way to, like, set up your turn 1 board, I think. This is a good, very, very good card for when you're going first. And then we're playing 4 copies of Pressured Planet. One's just, like, an alternate art and says that I'm allowed to play a 4th copy of Pressured Planet on it. Next up, we've got very standard 3 Theosis, 3 Birth. No explanation there, really. Next up is our hand trap lineup. So we've got 3 Ash. It's primarily just for, like, lab. You really just want to see it against, like a lab matchup. You can, of course, Ash on, like, original Sinful Spoil. You can Ash on, like, Fountain. You can, like, Ash on, like, Emergency, stuff like that. But ideally, it's, like, this card, like, makes or breaks a lab matchup pretty often. Then, of course, is the big bad of the format, Dimension Shifter. I know as a Kashtira player, I'm supposed to be, like, real humble and be like, yeah, I only ashed, like, 1 or 2 people the whole event. No, I only Dimension Shifted, like, 1 or 2 people. No, I Dimension Shifted everyone. There was games where, like, I Dimension Shifted people in two games out of the match. This card was, like, just glued to my hand all day. Dimension Shifter went in, like, typically at locals, I'll play, like, a whole locals where I won't see a Dimension Shifter. So there's my, like, being a humble Kashtira player. I'll be like, oh, I don't see that locals. But, no, at this event, I saw a Dimension Shifter nonstop. Card went in, like, super hard. And then, 3 Imperms, probably, like, my worst hand trap, but that doesn't mean, like, it was bad. I know, like, I've seen, like, profiles where it's just, like, you don't want to play Imperm these days because, like, into, like, combos. But I guess, like, think about, like, you play against a combo deck, you're probably not keeping Imperm in, so you just side it out if it's against, like, Vanadium or something like that. But going first is just, like, you typically want to know, like, if you know, like, where to use it correctly against, like, more mid-range control decks, then you can mitigate their board. And I still think Imperm's a good card. And it's like if you go first game 1 and they're not on, like, a go second deck, then it's also, like, something you can at least set too. But yeah, out of, like, the 3 hand traps, it wasn't the star of the deck. It was just all around, like, good efficient card. Then there's just, like, some non-engine cards we played. I played 1 Talent, 1 Thrust. Of course, like, Thrust is better in this deck when I'm going second, so it's just kind of there. And Talent's good going first or second. Both just cards I like to play. Not much to really say about them. Then was the 3 Prosperities. I summoned, like, the same 4 monsters from my extra deck the whole day, so it's just, like, these got all the, cards that weren't those same 4 monsters out of my extra deck, and then got me into cards from my main deck, of course. Very, very, like, standard stuff. And 3 Cosmic Cyclones. So I was primarily focused on playing against Lab this event. I expected there to be a lot of Lab due to transaction rollback. Like, a lot of people from my locals were speculating that Lab would be the best deck this format. I only played against 2 lab players, and then I ended up playing against, like, 4 different race players, I think. 3 or 4. Or, no, I played against 3 race players, and then 1 Snake Eye Fire King player. So there was a lot of time where I was just like, this card wasn't what I was hoping for. But I think that's alright. There was, like, points against, like, when I was playing against, like, race, where they'd go, like, Diabellstar set, and then I just, like, Cosmic Cyclone, the original that they set. So I guess, like, it was an alright card. Onto the extra deck, where I summoned, like, 4 guys from. I'm going to start with some of the guys that we summoned. Of course, Kashtira. If you're going first, this is pretty much, like, the card that you're ending on. It's, like, you set up Kashtira, and then, like, sometimes there's, like, an Ogre or Fenrir on your board. The Big Bang set, sometimes Planet on board, sometimes Hand Traps on board. And then standby, you get this guy. If you have Planet and it's like past turn 1, then you can like pop something on resolution of summoning a guy. It's the card. Love him. Next up is 2 Dark Arm, the Kashtira Dragon. There's something, again, like I've seen other players talking about, like, it's like we've always played one, and I've seen other people talking about playing the second one. So I tried it out at this event. My last profile, I was playing X Pearly Happiness or whatever, the rank 7. That's like the dark ruler, and I was just like, it's like real niche decks. So I decided to try out the second Dark Armed, and I think it came up like once. I was typically just banishing it off Prosperity, but I did have a game where it's like, on one turn, I Dark Armed them, and then the next turn I made it again and Dark Armed them a second time, and that was kind of cool. Yeah, so it was pretty neat. Probably like, after Kashtira, it's probably like one of my like most go-to cards in the whole deck. After that was Dragosack. I wasn't playing the Cyberse line. Like I mentioned, I'm trying to play around like things like Drool, Nib. I don't want to go wide because this deck hard loses to Evenly. So I'm just playing it for the ability to just pop cards. It's nice, like, you can summon it. And the benefit of the Cyberse line, honestly, is people are expecting me to go into the Cyberse line. So when I summon Dragosack, they don't Imperm or Veiler it right away. Then I just tribute it to its own effect and pop something. Because people are like, oh, I'm just going to hold it for when he attempts to make the tokens, and I'll just stop it here. And it's like, no, I'm not going for that play line. So I appreciate all the Cyberse players for kind of like putting that idea into my opponent's heads, I think, where I was just showing up. I was just going tribute, pop a guy. But it's definitely like, no disrespect to people playing Cyberse. In round 6 I played against Shun Ping, and he actually said like, hey, you might want to like try this out. I think you should give it a look. So I might like try out Cyberse. I still need to find like the Crystal Heart. So that might be like something that happens in the future. I just think at this event, it was very beneficial that people were expecting me to go into the Cyberse line when I summoned Dragosack, and I wasn't doing that. Next up, we have 2 Zeus. Again, it's just like 2 Zeus. I wanted to like, the reason that there's a lot of 2-0s in this extra deck is I wanted to just have doubles of all the good utility XEs that I typically make. Whether I'm just banishing them for Prosperity or just to have them. I just want to like have the best like XE toolbox available, so I was just playing a lot of 2-ofs. After that was like Flare Metal. I think I made Flare Metal like once, maybe twice. I forget. It's nice, like, you make a Flare Metal, can't be short of card effects, so sometimes that comes up, and then you can just, like, swing it and then turn it into a Zeus. Other times it's nice when your opponent's just low on life points, and you know that they're not going to be able to come back under Flare Metal. Typhon. I don't think I made Typhon all day. 2 Big Eyes. I didn't make either Big Eye all day. This card's, like, really nuts in the mirror match, though, because, like, you summon him, you steal a guy, you take the guy that you just stole and another thing, make a second Big Eye, steal another guy, and then, like, you can overlay them if you're, like, real spicy like me, and just, go into F-Zero, which, also didn't come up all day. The other idea with this card was you summon it, if after you go, like, double Dark Arm, pop 4 cards, you can just overlay them into this, which also didn't happen all day. I thought it was like, yo, it's gonna be crazy if I do this, and it didn't happen. So I don't know, that's like stuff that was kind of like copium, I guess. And finally, the non-XDs were SB and Baron. There was times when I was in like a situation where it was like my next play had nothing changed, would have actually been to make a Baron. but then like I drew something different, or like they made a certain play and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this instead now. So like kind of credit to Baron that I almost made it, but I never made Baron all day. I never made SP all day. On the ride home last night, my friend was like, man, I can't believe you have like this $100 card that just sits in your extra deck not being summoned. I'm like, no, man, what do you mean? I banished it for my prosperity. It's never even in my extra deck. But yeah, if we're gonna talk about like things I would have changed if I were to play the Cybers line, I'm not sure how many cards it is. I think it's like the 2 Link Spiders, the Heart, and the Heat Soul. So it'd be like I'd probably cut these 4. I feel like those are like the 4 that I probably would have cut. Or like I'd probably cut these for like Super Poly targets too, because I played against a lot of Race. And had I been on Super Poly, I think I would have had a better chance against those decks. So those are 4 cards I think no matter what I would have cut. And I remember like on my last profile I mentioned cutting F-Zero, but then I picked up the second Dark Arm Dragon. I'm like, yo, this is gonna be crazy when I make this all day, and I didn't make it once all day. It was just like pure copium, honestly. Onto the side deck though. So the side deck was like, there's very few cards for going first or second. It's mostly just cards that I could side in going first or second, if that makes sense. Such as like Ghost Bell. This again, I prepared my deck primarily for Labyrinth. So like Ghost Bell is just like a card that I can side going first or second against that deck. Of course you can like use it against other decks, but like primarily the goal was to have Ghost Bell for that matchup. Droll Lock, this card almost doesn't come in because it conflicts with Shifter. But you want to play it into decks like Vanadium, where they're setting up a board where it's literally like, if you don't stop me from making this board, you lose. So it's like, I'd rather see open a hand of like Droll and Shifter and stop them from playing than not open that and just lose anyway. Because I just don't like how Droll and Shifter conflict. Because like you open like, you Shifter them of course, and then you have to hope like Shifter's enough to stop them, which it usually is. But then it's like, if it's not, now it's like, man, I wish I hadn't Shifter and just Drolled instead. Like it just puts you in that weird situation where you wish the Droll Lock had been like any other hand trap, or like sometimes you wish it was like you open Droll and any other hand trap. Seeing them together really sucks, but sometimes you just have to like play both of them together. So cards I played, decided in for going first, was the second copy of Talents. Card just like they hand trap you, you can activate Talents. And then you already know that I'm on 3 Solemn Judgments as always. This card just it's my baby. You judgment everything. But yeah, typically it's just like, you know, like this deck just hard loses to board breakers. A lot of my losses were from like my opponent opened evenly matched, and I'm pretty sure like I got evenly matched 5 times last night. I only had judgment for 1 of them, so that really sucked. I wish I opened judgment more. And like the one game where I did have judgment, my setup was like Shangira, judgment, Big Bang, imperm. So it was like that judgment like saved my life, and then there's just no way that they're gonna play through that board. I'm pretty sure like they just like they couldn't play after like I impermed one thing or something. I forget. But after that we just like win game 3. And then finally cards for going second were my own 3 Evenlies and 2 Lava Golems. I didn't want to play 3 Lava Golem because like Lava Golem's one of those cards where you just want to see it the one time, I feel like. If you open like multiple Lava Golems and they don't have like 3 cards on field, then it's like feels bad. Or like you draw Lava Golems later and after like you already Lava Golem them, it can end up being a really bad dead draw. Whereas Evenly you want to play at 3, not because you want to see multiples of it, but because you want to maximize your chance of opening it game 1. Or you want to maximize your chance of just opening it in on your first turn, just drawing it. So yeah, that was the side deck. So at this event, my matchups were in round one, I played against Runic Orchist. That's generally just like two decks that have a really bad time against Kashtira. So I won that 2-1. I forget how I lost a game to it. I think I lost in the first game. They just played through my board or something, and I think like I was expecting them to set up something to win the game, so I was like, okay, let's go next game two. And then game three, I shifted them. Game two, or round two was against Labyrinth. Not much to like really say there. I've noticed like there's players that are actually kind of unfamiliar with Kashtira now. It's really weird. Them and someone later in the tournament were unfamiliar with Kashtira cards. So I think like that kind of gave me a bit of an edge where they like of course like they asked like what does this do? I like told them like hey, it does this, this, and that. But it's definitely just like a good edge when your opponent's unfamiliar with your cards. Round three, I played against Race Sinful Spoils. Pretty sure I shifted them games 1 and 3. And probably lost like the second game in between. Yes, it's a pretty difficult matchup just because like Race can play around things like your Fenrir's, like your targeted removal pretty well. And then like they have Preventer, of course, so just like book like your best guy. So it's a very difficult matchup. Come back from lunch break. Round 4 was against Lab. I played against my opponent. Walter was super nice. Like probably like one of like the most friendly people I played against, if not like the most friendly person. Like shout out to him. What a great guy. And he was on Lab. I honestly can't like recall too much about this matchup. I remember like I set preparation. There's probably a point where I shifted. I think there's like this point where like game 3, I don't think he saw any lab names, but he saw like Fenrir and like back row. So he was on like a Kashtira. He was just on Fenrir control game 3. And I think I opened kind of awkwardly, so I had to like play through that until I eventually drew like my outs. After that I played against Snake Eye Fire King. I can't really remember too much about this game. I'm not sure if like I shifted them somewhere. It might have been like game 3, game 2. I might have shifted them. Can't really remember. Round 6 is when I play against Shunping. He was on Race, Horus, Sinful Spoils, just like this like pile of cards. Again, Race is super hard to play against, and playing against one of the best players in the world. He 2-0'd me. It was not much to really say there, honestly. Like that's actually what I was talking about before. Like he did give me some some insight, some like pointers. So that was like really cool of him. I know like professional players have that like reputation of being like more reserved and stuff. But it's really cool that like after the match he's like, hey, I think you should have like tried doing this. You might have wanted to play this card. So he's like super insightful. Is like a very nice person to play against. After that, I played against Mandanium. I 2-0'd them. That's game 1 I ashed on the Scareclaw planet, and then when they summoned Roomheart, I impermed the Roomheart. They ended on a Baron. I just played through the Baron, and then game 2 is when I sided and drooled them, and that was that. After that, round 8, I lost to Sword Soul 1-2. Game 3, I'm like no Johns. I totally like blew that. I shifter them, and then they make like Baron, set 1, and pass, and I play through the Baron off like I go Planet, then I summon Ogre. Ogre attacks over the Baron. And then I go like I get another guy on field. I make a Dark Arm Dragon. I Dark Arm, go to pop their set. They chain the Imperm to negate, and I then proceed to activate my Birth in the column that they just activated Imperm, and just completely threw that matchup. The whole time on their turn, I was like, man, if this costs me the game, I'm gonna be upset. And they did end up OTKing me. Had I put Birth in any of the other 4 columns, I would have normal summoned the Fenrir and kept playing from there. Set up a Big Bang. Completely threw that matchup. They were a good player. I just think like had I played just like a little better and more aware of my surroundings, had I probably just like been really tired at that point, I could have won that. Um, After that, I played against Blackwing. I 2-0'd them. Shout out to my homie from Locals who plays Blackwings. I would not have known how to play against that deck had it not been for them. Typically it's just like they summon the guy that the Blackwing where it's like send 2 guys from deck and this one to your grave to synchro summon. So like I imperm on there and he's like pretty much passes. And then game 2 I drool him and that was that. And then finally was another race deck where it's just a difficult matchup. I lost that one too. I think going forward, if I were to go to more large events again, I'd want to be playing Super Poly for race. Like it was back to back to back. It was just like race nonstop. I was like really expecting lab, but only to see them like very early in the tournament, and then after that it was just like race, Snake Eyes, Fire King. They're all over the place at that event. But otherwise, yeah, it was a pretty decent event. I had a good time. Shout out to all my friends that came with me, and just like, we all cheered each other on, had a good time. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a nice comment, all that cool stuff. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.